Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei. Today we're going to be looking at the MCC Reddit because it has been active. My prayers have been answered, or maybe it's because there was a cool event that happened last weekend. I don't know, and maybe it's definitely because of me. Anyways, today we'll be looking at the top posts of the last week on the MCC Reddit because it is mostly the last week-ish period in which all the activity has happened. But first, I updated my Twitter banner because I'm now running into a predicament where some people know who I am, but only in person, which is weird. So I added, my banner is now like, hey, look, that's me. So, I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny. And also, of course, a fun little moment to always remind ourselves of. I feel like I mention it a little too often, but hey, you would too. If this happened to you, you would too. Anyways, let's get to the top posts on the MCC Reddit over the past week. We'll look at like 20 plus something, however many there are and how much there is to discuss about them. We'll see. But here we go. First off, of course, Techno's birthday was at the start of the month. I think it's on June 1st, literally a week before mine, by the way. Yeah, of course, rest in peace. But yeah, anyways, moving along. The top 5 for MCC Color The World, a very peculiar one. Of course, what we see here, Sandwich being the dominant top player in this roster, almost gapping second by 500 points, more so closer to 400, of course, but shows that he was just by far the favorite to get the individual performance in this event, because I don't think in particular he like performed better than expected in many of the games, which kind of sounds maybe not the best, of course, because that just means that his expectations were set super high. But this was a very favorable game roster, so I feel like people kind of expected him to be first pretty much no matter what, unless he got unlucky, of course. But still, 2,900 points, close to 3,000 with 6 games is pretty impressive. So GG's, good job. But important to note, Wichtiger over here in second. I was adamant about this one, alright? I said this could happen because I believed, okay? I knew they had it in them. Also, the German team was just very strong, of course. And yeah, it ended up happening. Second place, Wichtiger. Then for the rest, Shadun was kind of looked at the like most favorable second best English-speaking streamer in this roster, or like on the English teams rather. One of the best individual players. Then Joel impressively making 4th, and Hannah as well impressively making 5th here. Very cool top 5. Hell yeah, you'll have to see it. Next up, number of times someone opened their inventory during Parkour Warrior. Sandwich Lord with 18, and everyone else essentially 0. Did we check? I don't know. You could even make this how many times players opened their inventory in non-PvP games, because then you have Sandwich opening his inventory in Rocket's Belief, right? Or something? I don't know. He did something. But yeah, W post. Next one, broed the entire event for this. Yes. This was funny. This was quite funny. He does. Hey, good point. Well, maybe not after MCC, you know. It was a good moment. This was a fun moment. I thought this, because I was in, obviously I was there in person. I saw he pulled up his phone. I didn't catch what it said initially when it happened, but what's it called? I thought it said just inventory jam at first because I saw the eye, but no, I need a job, of course. Yeah, it's a good, you'll have to see it. Next up, AMZ when they're in a Dodgebolt 1v4, but it's Pride Month, lock in. Hey, I'm still adamant about this being the most impressive, like, individual Dodgebolt performance in a round, at least. I'm sure there's arguments to be made of some random MCC in the past that had an overall Dodgebolt player that like locked in whatever, right? On an individual round level, AMZ I think has now set the stage for the best MCC Dodgebolt round so far by one player, right? Of course, because a 1v4 is already like unheard of. It's literally the second ever time it's happened ever. I'm just comparing it to the Ashwag one, and of course the Ash one is very impressive still. But I think when you compare Ash's like environment compared to Amy's environment in which everything happened, and also which team they were facing, I'm slightly leaning towards Amy's one to be the more impressive one. But that doesn't mean that Ash's wasn't impressive. I think if you were to say they're both on the same level, I'm totally in agreement and cool with that. I'm just saying, like, Amy made something happen that we didn't think would happen anytime soon, which is very cool. Anyways, continuing forward, I like how Joel went 11th, 2nd, and 1st to take first place from Sandwich and Rocket's Belief, only for Sandwich to return the favor and hole in the wall, lol. So, Joel gets 11th, 2nd, and 1st, and takes 1st in Rocket's Belief Rush. And then next, Sandwich Road gets 11th, 2nd, and 1st in Hole in the Wall, and wins Hole in the Wall. Interesting, huh? Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Hey, funny coincidence. I feel like this event had so many, like, coincidences or, like, quote-unquote trends, like, whatever, right? There's just the event overall, you know, the specific situation of a team that faced against the German team, and then how Dodgebolt ended up going. And there's also just on an individual game level, of course, this with Sandwich and Joel, or how Pangy continued to streak with like new Dutch newcomers who are Dutch winning the first round of Rocket's Belief in this type of event. Like, so many things that have happened in this event that are just coincidentally a trend. We'll see what it looks like next year, assuming there is an event next year for Rivals EU. I hope so, of course, fingers crossed. I don't know how you would even continue some of these trends. Like, a new Dutch streamer winning would either be there's a Dutch team and there's like a new streamer who is primarily Dutch speaking as well in, or like Clown Pierce, but low-key I feel like Clown might be in MCC before we even hit next year Twitch Rivals EU, so we'll see. But yeah, it's just interesting that it happened. Hey, not just once, but twice, you know, in a lot of these cases. Anyways, next up, fun fact, Dave Kratzy has never defeated Hannah in Battlebox. In 24, Hannah beats Dave, and then in 30, and in Party 1, and in Pride 24, and then in a Blank Canvas. Interesting. I assume, were they teamed at some point? I don't know. Has there been? I'll just click on the post. Is that everything? I feel like there would have been more battle boxes. No. Okay, never mind. Anyways, continuing forward, Minecraft game drop announcement during Color The World. We kind of got that to an extent. I feel like it was kind of not overhyped because it still was cool that it happened, of course, but like there was no new stuff we found out, nor did we get like a specific date. We were kind of just told like, hey, this stuff you already kind of know about is coming at some point, and it's coming soon. But like, okay, sure. Cool though, it was cool. It was just interesting to have a segment, just in general, during an MCC, right? Very cool. This was the craziest Dodgebolt ever. Amy 1v4, 1v2 to end it. Wow. Also, Sandwich acing round, or Pink's first round win. Kind of overlooked maybe a little bit, but Sandwich did get an ace. An ace is still notable, all right? Still, that's crazy, right? To get someone getting an ace is crazy. So, an ace into a 1v4, and then a 1v2 to end, of course, with still impressive, but like a 1v2s happen a lot, so still cool though. Very cool. W Dodgebolt, probably, I said definitely top 5, could be the best ever Dodgebolt we've ever seen. And then here is the screenshot of them winning. Of course, as you would expect with, you know, the way this team ended up winning and how the the overall event performance ended up going, a lot of these posts are going to be regarding the Pink Parrots for this event, whether it's just about Sandwich individually dominating this event, or Amy, or the rest of the team, of course, just kind of coming together and putting up an insane performance. But yes, this was the winning team. In terms of mainline MCC, is this one of the youngest teams to ever win as well? I don't know everyone's age specifically, but I don't think anyone here is older than like 23, 22 maybe? I don't know. So this is a very young team. I don't know if this is the youngest, but it's one of the youngest winning teams probably of all time as well. Maybe excluding Rising, because the Rising probably more likely chance that there's a younger overall winning team. But this feels like one of the youngest teams to win MCC as well. Very cool. This I'll talk about at some point later as well, probably. But there is a German MCC coming maybe soon. I don't know if there's a date. But oh, hello. There is one coming though. As you may have known, recently at least, Blockers has been doing invitationals, right, with other people, and it seems like MCC is giving their shot at it as well, where they're doing a full German-speaking event. I don't know if it's going to be 40 creators, maybe it'll be less or more, who knows. But it's going to feature the following people: Papa Platt and Wichtiger you'll be familiar with, and Hugo, of course, as well. Maybe if you are a German, you know, person who watches German creators, you'll be more familiar with some of the other people as well. I am personally not. But yeah, it seems to be pretty interesting. Of course, very interesting and hyped to see MCC take on the invitational approach with people or with other groups, right? We've never seen them do this, maybe if you count Jingle Jam, but I think that's technically a little bit of a different approach. But it's just cool to see this. So hell yeah, German event, of course, you'll see it. Next up, percentage of earned coins by top frags on their team, MCC Color The World. This one I thought was really interesting because Hannah, I think, is a notable one here. Getting like almost 42% of her team's score is very impressive. Like genuinely, like that's just crazy. Sandwich, of course, as well. 43, very impressive. But yeah, I during the event I didn't really notice Hannah was being as dominant of a player for her team throughout this event, but she shows it. It's literally right there. So hey, pretty damn good. For the rest, pretty like well spread out percentages. Of course, being a top frag will mean that you generally get, of course, a little bit more of a slice of your team's score, 30 something percent, etc. Callum here with 27.73 shows that the Cyan team has to have been pretty close somehow in terms of their team's total earned points, because 25% would of course be exact. Everyone does the exact same, so 27 is not that big of a jump up from 25. It means that the Science team must have done relatively well rounded, or put up a relatively well-rounded performance overall. Gil, of course, as well, impressive to show 38% on a last place team. Usually happens, if I'm going to be very honest, unless you have a team of 4 people who are just quote-unquote bad. Usually this does happen where one of the standout best, quote-unquote carry performances of a team, if you look at these percentages, is going to come from one of the weaker teams just because of how the nature of balancing works. That's just usually going to be the case, but it's still impressive. Can't overlook that, of course. Joel as well, 38%, very impressive, and yeah, love to see it. I think these are such interesting statistics to look at because they kind of paint the picture of, like, how does the balancing go for this event and who locked in, right? Because, yeah, it's just interesting. Sandwich somehow opens the Epic Games launcher mid Rocket Split Rush and dies because of it. A clip from the Fruitberry POV. We'll open it very briefly. Hold on.
Great Lake.
Nice. I mean, I feel like most people have already seen it, but yes, WPOV. Or W clip. It was quite funny to see it just randomly happen. Like the audience reaction, because this was on the main screen. The audience reaction was like electric when we saw this. This was like so funny. Anyways, continuing forward. Glorious hour-long Mirrorwing video. People have been talking about this one a lot. I don't have the attention span to properly sit through everything. I did see part of the intro. It looks like a very cool one in terms of like its formatting. From what I've seen so far as well, the level of research that had to have gone into this specific video is insane. Like this is like if you had to make a school essay cubed. Like it's crazy. Like actually so much attention went into this one. I haven't gotten past like 10 minutes of it because again I just don't have the attention span for like this type of format of video, because it's usually like, not to sound rude, but like I personally don't really care too much to know what the first Meltdown game was like, if that makes sense, right? Because I don't know, that's just not, I don't really I don't know, but it's cool though. I like super vouch for, if you're interested at all in watching something, just watch Mirrorwing video. It's gotten a lot of attention and for a good reason. I mean, so far what I've seen, impressive video, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it very positively. So you'll have to see it. Next up, D-tier movement player. D-tier movement player Smallish Beans got first in Rocket Split Rush, second in Hole in the Wall, and fourth in Parkour Warrior. He's probably at least C-tier now, but he's still a bit washed. Yes. Anyways, new record for fastest Meltdown ace from Sneak. Let's take a look.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, behind us. Careful.
Got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Break the heater. They don't have a heater. Never mind, we're good. That was loud as well. That might be the fastest. Let's see if in the comments if anyone agrees. Hold on. Is that the fastest, everyone? think so. Yeah, seems like it. Nobody's disagreeing with it, so... And Reddit would know. Reddit would know if there's somebody who's quicker, so... Yeah. Also talks about Sneak has so much potential to be insanely good. Dude, this is another situation. Because Sneak has a background in UHC. I've been saying this man's got it in him to do well. I said this with Shadun as well when Shadun initially joined, because he's got a background in UHC, and having a background in UHC just means mechanically you have to be at least decent. Which it shows. But what's it called? Yeah, if Sneak had the time to practice for stuff like this and like really cared that much to be like an uber sweat, I genuinely think Sneak could be like maybe low S tier or just super high A tier, like close to like what 5-up is like now in events, right? But he's got like a kid, I think, so I understand why he doesn't. And also, events are way more fun to just play in for fun than to sweat it every single time, because then what also happens when you really sweat for an event and when you set an expectation to be a sweat in an event is whenever you do something impressive but not super impressive, it's overlooked, and that doesn't feel very fun. So yeah, anyways, happy birthday, False. Happy birthday, False, as well. Is False's birthday the same day as Techno's? Oh, interesting. Unless this was posted either the day before or the day after. Either way, happy belated birthday, of course. Green Gecko's appreciation post. With their usual German efficiency, Green popped off as expected and gapped the rest of the teams convincingly. They were also close in Dodgebolt for the second time, and I know it would have been heartbreaking to lose like that when they were one shot away from winning. Nevertheless, it was great to see them perform so well. Wichtiger cooked with the second overall, consistently placing top 5 with an amazing Parkour Warrior. Norex and Hugo placed well too in most games, and Castro provided amazing support to the team. They're all top 15 too. I really hope they get invited to the next Twitch Rivals if there is one, and who knows, maybe third time's the charm. Yes, shout out German team for performing really well. I will say, and this is from a organizer standpoint, if the German team returns, I would like to see only half of the players return. Not because there's any problems with the people on the team, but more because the team is just so strong. So unless the next EU Rivals is high comp and the team is more balanced, then that's fine. I'm just going to assume that's not going to be the case, because I feel like MCC is probably trending low as long as they are able to. I feel like MCC's in this, or maybe Scott would agree, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Scott about this at all, but I feel like generally the MCCs that are a bit more lower comp leaning are overall more enjoyed by overall everybody on average, okay, than the higher comp ones, just because I think the high comp ones for some of the players just aren't that fun. But when it's a little bit more casual, a little bit more, or not casual, but a little bit more, or less experienced rather, it just allows for more pop-offs, right? We literally saw this recent event. This event was slightly lower comp trending, and in, for example, something like Hole in the Wall, Becky won a round, Shelby won a round, and that's like actually super exciting. I love seeing that. So we'll see. I personally would rather not see like the 3 of Green Gecko's return. I think individually all the players deserve to play. I don't think 2 German teams is doable, so it might have to be a situation where just to make it not, oh, who's going to face off against Green and Dodgebolt again, you'd have to just cut some people out, unfortunately, which, yeah, it's hard, right? Because I think they're also a very popular team. Literally, somebody pulled up the viewership stats, or like people calculated the viewership for this event, and it's close to 100,000, which is ridiculous. But that is mostly thanks to the French and the German team. I think combined pulling over half of the viewership, which is from 2 out of the 10 teams unheard of, right? Especially when it's such a huge number of, let's round up and say 100K. That's over 50,000 of the viewers coming from 8 players. That is ridiculous. Could even be 50,000 from 7 or 6 of the players, but you get my point, right? It's genuinely unheard of. So I understand why they might not discontinue the German team as is, because it's very big. But I would hope, if possible, that it's avoided to be fully brought back, just because it means that the overall excitement of who could make Dodgebolt is just a bit more interesting, because it means that, there are 2 potential teams that could be up in the air for who makes it, rather than just, we know which one is number 1, and then everyone's fighting for second, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, shoutouts to the Green team, though. They're all great people, from the ones I've met. I've never spoke to Fabo, I think, or Castcrafter, but Wichtiger is cool, Hugo's cool, and Norex is cool. So shout out to all of them, of course. That may have been the craziest Dodgebolt of all time. Yes, we've already talked about it. Look, as much as I think it's deserved to talk about, I don't want to just only talk about that. But yes, it is a fantastic Dodgebolt performance from the entire Pink team, really. Anyways, how every team solved the first obstacle in Rocket Split Fresh and how much gold they used. I actually looked at this on stream, and this is such an interesting post and such an interesting picture to paint. I would love to see somebody. This is such a huge ask, and really this is not necessary at all, but I'm curious. What if somebody analyzed every single Railroad Rush so far and tried to somehow figure out what the fastest completion of every round, or every, what's it called, was, or most efficient path, fastest whatever, and then try to figure out what is like the best way to approach this? Because now that sand is a thing, there are so many little bits of efficiency you can implement into your thingy, into your wow, my brain is farting right now, into this like game, and I think it makes for such an interesting like result overall. Because even this, right, number 1 Aqua with 50 gold, very impressive, because I'll show this just very briefly. If you go to 8th place, or 10th place rather, this team used 102. Now that is mostly because of this line of blocks. That is a choice, for sure. But when you look at Aquas again, even Aquas can be optimized. This is a very good path. Not really much I would change about this specific pathing, except for a very small improvement you can make here. Right here, they use 3 concrete and 3 sand to make this, or to make it up here. This action can be performed with, I think, if you do it correctly, 1 sand and 1 concrete. If you put the sand, hold on, let my brain function. If you put the sand here, you see my mouse? Yes. So if you put the sand here, and then a concrete here in the middle, in the second block, this already goes up, so you don't have to worry about that. You then keep 2 concrete and 2 sand. I think that's 10 gold. So this action could have been performed with 40 gold, which is genuinely incredible. Like, actually, that is insane. But it shows even the most optimal, by the way, by a lot. 63 is the other closest one. Like, this is a huge accomplishment from Aqua Team here. Doing very well here. Yeah, even with what's it called? Even with the fastest one by a decent margin, there's still like a 20% like more efficient path than what we've seen, which is insane. I think that's crazy. Anyway, I don't want to get into it too much, but yes. AMD Dodgebolt, we've seen it. It's incredible, but we've seen it. Amy is now 5-0 in Dodgebolt in the month of June? Hold on. MCC Pride 2022. Megabolt, and then Megabolt again, and then regular Dodgebolt, and then Megabolt. Okay, so 3 of them are Megabolt. And then Color the World. Wow. Sick. Oh, that's fire. That's awesome. People's reaction to Joel's shirt. Let's take a look very briefly. I feel like this is just mostly sandwich rolled and fruit berries.
LD Shadow Lady's husband? Is that what Joel's...
Yes.
That's good.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's put it on the screen again. Yeah, there you go. Dude, I saw what's it called? I spoke to at least Scott saying like I liked his jersey name. I thought that was funny. I don't know. I remember if I spoke to Joel. I don't think I did. I saw Joel's on screen though. But I didn't speak to Joel when he had his jersey on. So I have for Sandwich, the entirety of Pink Team, but especially Sandwich. Sandwich is probably one of, if not the only person who was a fan of MCC before becoming a serious content creator, and watching him over these years and finally getting to play twice and win is an absolute treat. Been watching the dude since he made Silly Cubecraft. PvP Legacy YouTube videos, and seeing him win an IRL MCC is like watching someone live out the dream. Yeah, pretty much. Low key. I mean, not low key, high key. Yeah, probably one of, if not the only person who was a fan of MC before becoming a serious content creator. I would say I'm part of that too. But yes, shout out Sandwich, of course. The actors and actresses behind the blank corp boxes. This is May, Liam, and May Zaz. Indeed. I can confirm. Brooke and Garlic Mint, of course. Paydims, yes. Or Pay, I should say, of course. Yeah, no, shout out Rising People, of course. They did a very good job being playing core boxes. Hell yeah. Next up, Lexi's implying she is subbing in for MCC tomorrow. Well, the implication ended up being reality. Lexi did very good during the event. Lucky. By the time she found out, I think we were in a club when she found out, or something like that. I don't remember. Actually, no. For sure, yes. I remember. That is exactly where we found out. And every time she would walk up to me and be like, "I'm so ready to get 39th." I don't know where she ended up placing. I want to say not 39th because her team got like top 4, I think, right? So she probably did half decent at least. But yeah, it was quite funny. And W Lexi, she's very emotive, so it's a great person to have for like reaction images or reaction shots during the event. Which I think at some point, literally, the camera just pans on her for like a minute, and it's just like, okay, interesting. Anyways, Aquaxel is discovering that no one predicted them in Railroad Rush. I need to see this. I don't think I've seen this clip yet.
Yes, sir. Wait,
0%! 0%!
Oh no.
0%.
That's so funny.
Come on, 0% really?
That's so humbling, man. That's so humbling. Wait, where's the individual rankings? This is the
That's so funny. Somehow we got another goofy moment in Meltdown. Let's see. Let's see.
Achtung, Achtung, was ist
Ja.
Oh. Hugo. Oh no. Oh no. Here's the official substitutes happening, of course. Hold on. My music stopped. Okay, we're good. Too many things are similar. Me when a second placed pink team with at least one lifesteal member wins MCC against a first placed team that gapped by 3k coins whilst hitting a 1v4. Coincidence, I think not. That is part of the coincidences. There's so many other ones. What? There's so many other ones during this event. So, hell yeah, cool. Percentage of earned coins by top frags of their team. MCC blank canvas. Oh shit. I didn't know we were still talking about MCC blank canvas, but hell yeah. Fine 40%. Not surprised. Then you have MathoX or Mathox. Even though they got 33rd, still getting 40% of their coins. This is, again, like mentioned, prime example. How balancing tends to work. If you have a weak team and a standout player on such weak team, you're probably going to be in this top 3. We literally saw this in Black Wars Rookies as well, where I think literally the top 3 individual scores, or at least 2 of them, were from the bottom 3 teams. I think it was the top 3, because it was my team 6th, the Sneeg, and then Fur, I think were the top 3 individual performances, and all of our teams got bottom 3, so yeah, kind of shows how that usually goes. But then Purpled here in 3rd in terms of his ranking, with I think that says 39, close to 40%. Very cool indeed. Shane also getting super close here, but then for the rest it's kind of a gap. But yeah, cool, sick. Anyways, next up. Eloise has not lost against Ant Frost or Feinberg in Battle Box. Against Eloise, Ant lose. And then Ant and Fine lose. Ant Frost and Feinberg in Battle Box, probably. Eloise. Eloise is terrifying, yes. MCC Color The World visual for Parkour Warrior Survivor. Okay, hold on. Let's take a look. So this is who gets eliminated where. So the first eliminations were in the log wrap, which is if I can figure out the skins, I'm gonna try my best. It's Lexi, Avid, Gucky, and Tina, probably, were the first 4 out then. Then you have Maddie, Siren, and Jill Tommy. I assume that's Cam, Shelby, Jimmy, I think this is Sky Art, I want to say. I could be wrong. And then I don't recognize this skin. Let me look at the other ones. Is that Amy? That might be Amy. Okay, cool. I think that's Amy. Then there's, some people here don't die, then here they don't die, and then this is Ollie, Link, Etoile, and Martin. Stuff getting real here. Then you got Scott, Michaela, Jack, Beck, Fit, Lewis, Phil, Gil, Sneeg, Shadoon, Owen, 5up, Toby. Very good performance from Toby here. Callum, I think that's Noriax. Oh, this is not Martin. This is Castcrafter. Sorry, that is Castcrafter. This is Martin. That just somehow looked a little bit similar. Then Curry, Hannah, Jeremy, and Panky. Very, very impressive, squad up here. And then the final leap, which was what's it called? Final leap was was like literally anyone who didn't finish Leap 8 would have been eliminated, so that's why there's so many here. But then you have Wichtiger and Joel getting stuck in the dead drops. Hugo made it past. I didn't know that, by the way. I did not know that Hugo made it past. That is very cool to see. So Hugo actually technically getting second here. Of course, Sandwich won. We knew that. But cool. Sick. Fire. Next up, Lexi the S tier. Yeah, Lexi did start the event in first because Railroad, they won. So W. MCC Color The World, the Dodgebolt stats. I'm curious about this one. Okay, Pink Parrot shooting, Green Gecko's dodging, etc., etc. Overall, Green Gecko's accuracy was quite a bit higher than Pink's because Pink ended up shooting more and also landed one less. And there were 2 aces being Sandwich and Amy. So let's look at the individual performances here. Okay, so Sandwich ended up getting roughly 50% accuracy, landing a shot on Wichtiger 3 out of 3 times. Very impressive, of course. You'll love to see that. Then there is 1 out of 4 in Hugo, Noriax 2 out of 5, Castcrafter 3 out of 4. Interesting, okay. Pangy. Oh, Pangy. Same with Castcrafter, but oh. Landing 1 shot out of 7. It happens. Amy with 50%. Very nice. You'll have to see it. You know, what? We know where one of the so Amy hit Hugo 1 time and then 1v forward. Cool. You'll have to see it. And then Gucky shooting twice, hitting none. Of course, happens. So yeah, the dodges. Noriak's kind of a dodging demon. I think the reason they were going for Noriax, maybe, if I had to guess, could be a coincidence. If I had to guess, they might be leaning towards Noriax because of his performance last year. Last year, he was the guy that eliminated me for pretty much everything, right? I wasn't able to play pretty much at all last year in Dodgebolt, and that was thanks to Noriax. So I assume that's why he became a target to an extent here. But then if you look at the other side of things, honestly, the accuracy from Green Team is pretty impressive here. I think what kind of, and this is not to like point out quote unquote for like faults or anything. I think what ended up happening is that with Wichtiger, Hugo, and Noriax, they are the more accurate players of this team, of course, right? Also, Noriax being the only person to hit Sandwich ever, by the way. What ended up happening was Castcrafter ended up being the last one left alive, and his accuracy was unfortunately just not up to par with the rest of the team, which kind of meant that the Green Team's overall shooting power was left behind, whereas Pangy got eliminated very early in most of these rounds. He was like left alive maybe once or twice, like somewhat late, but I feel like he went out first in most of these rounds, and that's probably why Pink ended up keeping some of their firepower later on, and that allowed for them to, obviously with a very impressive 1v4 and an ace, allowed for them to crawl back and squeeze out a win. So yeah, very cool, very fun to see. Anyways, Dodgebolt statistics. So yeah, next up, AMZ and Dodgebolt. Yes. When the only game I can't win is the finale. Yep. Yeah, that looks about right. It's purpled and then the German team. It is what it is. Oh, and then there's this post. I'll bring up this one first, and then we'll look at this one to end things off. So first, to I guess the last post, but not the last post. Was supposed to go to Rotterdam this year, but couldn't because I was sick. So I was supposed to bring this too. This is like the little beads, right? Or is this Lego? What is it? Is this Lego? That's cool. I love this. So this is Ollie, Quig, Martin, Dream, Phil, James Marriott, I think. Is that Kel? Jack Manifold, Zam, Misty, me, Tommy Innit, Etho, Lizzie, Joel, Techno, Masayoshi. I was gonna say Laser Beam. I think that's John's skin. Then there's Charlie. I think this is Phase Ray, Pete, Phil, not Phil, Fruit, Shane, Plushy, Panky. Sick. Awesome. Looks cool. Hell yeah. And then we'll look at this one, because I think it's interesting. I could actually low-key, I might leave this one for another video, because it, you know. But by the time I'd get to this, people would not want to talk about it anymore. So I'll talk about it now. Some people have brought up S tier is kind of an interesting debate, right? S tier has always kind of been a tough topic for MCC because how what's it called? The variance in terms of individual pop-off ability is too big in MCC because of how MCC functions, right? Their scoring, their game design, etc. Usually there is a room for pretty much anybody to make a major pop-off appearance, or not everybody, but a lot of the times you'll see somebody make a surprise, strong or weak performance happen. And I think the most talked about moment when this is relevant is the quote-unquote S tier, when there is a super high-end player performing lower, or when there is a good player making a very high-tier performance overall. For example, I'll just use Joel and Hannah, right, getting 4th and 5th in this event. Very good performance. Top 5 is crazy. Does that make them S tier? I don't know, right? I don't want to say anything about that because people always argue and whine and complain. But rather than, let me just not sidetrack myself too much, right? Rather than that being relevant, what people now look at is like, okay, which players consistently are putting up high-end performances, in which the argument kind of states as follows, that there are currently 5 standout best MCC players. And I agree with this top 5, but there are 5 standout best MCC players that kind of have a gap between them and the other quote-unquote top players, and then, of course, the rest. However, there's been an argument to be made that these 5 players should be the only S tiers, whereas I kind of don't agree with that and think more so that maybe they should be S+, if that is relevant, of course. The top 5 players being Fine, Shane, Purpled, Fruit, and Antfrost, which I think definitively, yes, these are the 5 best MCC players right now that are actively in pretty much every event. We're not going to include someone like Sandwich, or even if you want to throw in my name, or Coldy, or whoever, right, for the individual performances we put up in the respective events we played in. We're not regular MCC participants. These are all regular MCC participants. These are the 5 best regular MCC players. But the end of the S tier post, essentially, kind of a rant. Wanted to gauge the community's feeling on this. For reference, I've been active, blah, blah, whatever. S tier is already a widely used term, blah, blah, whatever. Key feature of being S tier is they held the title for life. Pete, for example, averaged 12th place over 5 events back in 2021, and no one would dare demote him. Sure. Fast forward to today, and things have changed. Namely, S tier no longer means the highest caliber player, mainly due to this grandfather rule. I think this is a valid criticism. This is valid criticism, but it's also a question of like, okay, what does S tier actually mean? Because does it mean that you always put up a high-end performances? Because that's not true, right? You know, not to necessarily, you know, well, I will, because I kind of have to use it as an example, but like Fruit, for example, not too long ago, put up like a middling performance in the board. Does that just mean he can't be S tier, even though the rest of his performances are insanely high? I don't know. And then in the instance of someone like Pete, sure, if you say over 5 events back, then he averaged 12th. If you look at his performances now, maybe he averages low-end top 10. In Rivals EU, I think he got 2nd, right? That was a high comp event. He got 2nd individual on like a probably mid or lower mid placing team. That's an S tier performance. Does he now no longer deserve to be called S tier? No, I don't think so. So there's a lot to be talked about here. I'm not going to get into it too much. I feel like pretty much everybody has shared their little piece. But we'll look at one of the replies. S tier players are players who are balanced like S tiers. A tier players are players who are balanced like A tiers. B tier, blah, blah, etc. If he wants to call out last minute and Scott calls up Jojo to replace him, that is not going to be an identical team, but it feels meaningfully different to replace FBM with like Cub Fan, sure. For me, the moment Frost became S tier was the moment he subbed onto a team that was supposed to have Illumina and went, oh, I think that's actually going to be stronger than it was before. But I think Ant has, when it comes to those players, that's the marker of S tier for me. It's about if you function in team as an S tier. I don't know. I feel like that's maybe not the most relevant way to look at it. I think S tier just kind of means mostly no matter what, you are going to be a definitively good player, top player, whatever. The main problem with S tier is I think there are players who sometimes fall under that umbrella and people who always fall under that umbrella. The ones who are always under that umbrella are like these people, pretty much, right? For 90% of the time, 95% of the time, these people are going to be quote-unquote S tier, putting up S tier performances, depending on the games, etc. And then there are players who have been mentioned previously, like Pete, Jojo, etc., right? Who can put up an S tier performance, but maybe on average do it less than some of the people here. But I still think those people are S tier. It just means that not every S tier is equally S tier, but whatever, right? Like, it's literally mentioned, like, some people you could sub in for others, theoretically, and it's like a buff or a nerf, slightly, blah, blah, whatever. I think at this point, Feinberg is a prime example of, like, oh, you can't just sub out Pete and add Feinberg. That's not a equal substitution, you know, with no disrespect or no offense to either player. Like, that's just a thing where within S tier, sure, there could be different performing players, but the same applies to A tier, B tier, C tier, whatever, right? If I look at Blockworks, for example, a mid-tier player could be like May, right? VTuber. Or could be like Rain. Both of them can and have placed around the middle. Like May maybe more on average leans to the 15th side of the middle, whereas Rain more average leans to the 25th side of the middle. But they both place around 20th, right? They're not equal, but they can be kind of labeled under the same umbrella of like, oh yeah, roughly equal. Maybe not the best example, but you get my point to an extent, right? They are roughly equal in terms of stats, but they're not going to be like properly interchangeable in terms of balancing. So yeah, anyways, enough yap. That is the quote-unquote end of the S tier, blah, blah, whatever debate. Who knows, who cares? And I guess to end it off, hope Jimmy will have fun with Repo, I guess, where he forgot to change his stream title because I think he did a test stream last time he streamed on Twitch, because I was talking to him about that at some point, and that's funny. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts about the posts that we have looked at over the past 40 minutes. Let me know your favorites, and also whatever your favorite moment is regarding MCC Color The World. Pride is coming soon. I'm going to make a video talking about Pride. There's some predictions and stuff to look at on Reddit as well regarding Pride. And yeah, that'll be cool. Very fun, etc. See you all later. Goodbye.